because they don't necessarily funnel hack these gurus all the way through to see all of the offers that are happening, because they might start you with a $7, but they're losing money on the $7 offer, right? They're spending ads to get a $7 buyer, but maybe they spent $100 or something to get that, right? The only way they do that is because of the big upsells on the back end, making that happen, making that profitable. And people don't necessarily understand that from the get-go.
And so what you want to focus on, at least when you're doing the marketing for your offer, is that you don't want to focus on what they will learn. You want to focus on what they will be able to do with what they learn, right? We often refer to this as selling the cure, not the drug. What people often don't realize is that it doesn't matter how much the offer on the back end costs. Okay, it doesn't matter how much you're charging for whatever it is you're selling. The cost of your traffic is going to be the same, whether you charge $1 or $10,000 on the back end. So for example, Facebook ads, you're probably going to pay somewhere between, maybe on the very low end, $20, on the higher end, maybe $60, maybe even upwards of $80 to reach 1,000 people with your ad.
If you want to build a legitimate, profitable online business without shiny objects, without the hypey gimmicks, and without the stress and overwhelm, if you want to make more money without having to be present online all day, every day, pumping out content that nobody sees and hustling DMs to generate leads and sales, then this is the place for you. Welcome to the Digital Trailblazer podcast, your online business university, where you'll learn how ordinary people start from ground zero with no influence, no email list or audience to sell to, and no business or marketing experience, and go from working 9-to-5 jobs to building successful 6- and 7-figure online businesses and all the steps in between. Learn the strategies that worked and what didn't. Learn the mistakes that they made and how to avoid them, and then learn their plans for scaling their businesses and taking things to the next level. All so that you can build your business faster and easier and make more money without sacrificing the things that are important to you in your life. I'm your host, Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd. Now, let's get to it with today's guest. Welcome, Digital Trailblazers. We want to really cover an important topic today about how to create an offer that sells. This is often something that we see when folks first come into our ecosystem and connect with us. They're really struggling with maybe an offer that they've been trying to sell and have not been able to sell, or even just struggling to put together a good offer to begin with. So that's what we're going to be diving in today. Now, when people are looking to create an offer, Todd, what are some of the beginner stuff that they need to take a look at and assess when they're pulling everything together?
Well, first, I think you have to understand what people are willing to pay for. And the big misconception is that people are paying for information, and they're not. The information is everywhere and it's free. You know, you can do a Google search for how to lose weight and there's going to be billions of results, right? You can do the same thing on YouTube, how to lose weight. And there's a ton of videos, diet plans, recipes, everything else about how to lose weight. And so if all you're selling is information or how to know how to do something, right? Like sometimes we'll have a client come in and we'll ask them, okay, so what's the end result of your program? Like what are people going to be able to do? And sometimes they'll say something like, well, they will know how to go on a keto diet, or they will know how to do this or that. And it's like, no. That's not it. That's just information. People can know how to do things just by doing free Google searches. They're not going to pay you to learn how to do that. And so what people really want to pay for is a result. Okay. They don't want to pay for the information. They want to pay for the result. And so what you want to focus on, at least when you're doing the marketing for your offer, is that you don't want to focus on what they will learn. You want to focus on what they will be able to do with what they learn, right? We often refer to this as selling the cure, not the drug. When you look at something like Tylenol or any other drug, right? And you look at a commercial and the way that they market their pharmaceuticals. When you see a commercial for Tylenol, are they saying, hey, you know, Tylenol, it's 325 milligrams of acetaminophen in a convenient little white pill that you can get in bottles of 100, buy it now at Walgreens for $8.99 or whatever it is. They never do a commercial like that because that would be selling the drug, right? The drug is acetaminophen. It's 325 milligrams. It's in a little white pill. It comes in a bottle of 100 or whatever. That's all talking about what it is. What you want to do is talk about what it does. Okay. When you think about Tylenol, what does it do? So typically what you'll see in a Tylenol commercial is say, a little girl in her bed and she's crying because she's got a fever, she's in pain, and she can't sleep. And then the mom walks in with the children's Tylenol and she gives it to her daughter. And then in the next scene, the child is smiling and sleeping happily in her bed because now her pain and fever are gone. Right? That's selling the cure, not the drug. And we want to think about your course or your coaching program or whatever it is that you're selling. We want to think about it in the same way, is what is that end result? After somebody completes your program, what are they going to be able to do with the information that you give them?
So another question, or sort of the next question that often comes up for folks, is how do you actually structure this in a way that's going to be transformational and meaningful and also shows the value of the program, all of those things in one? So how do you actually structure the program? I think it's really important for people. Always, you start with the end in mind. So what is that transformation that you want people to achieve, right? That is, they lost, back to pre-baby weight, or like whatever your thing is about. What is that transformation? Because remember, it's not information, it's a transformation that they want. So what is that transformation that they want? And then work your way backwards. What are the milestones that everyone must achieve in order to reach that goal, that transformation, right? Those milestones essentially become modules in your program. And then you can take it one step further and digest it even more and say, okay, now for each of those milestones that we're looking at, what are the specific steps that they're going to have to go through to attain that milestone? And those steps then become your lessons.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Because a lot of people, you may just have a collection of recipes or just a collection of exercises, and that's what you're trying to sell. Well, you need to take that information, because right now that information is just like tearing out all the pages of an encyclopedia and dumping it on the floor, right? It's just like piece of information here, piece of information there. And it can't be just that. It needs to be structured in a way where it takes people logically from step to step so that they can start at point A and get to point B. A lot of people struggle on what that point B really is, right? So if you created a course and it's about, ketogenic dieting, think about what will people be able to do when they go on this ketogenic diet, right? After 3 months or 6 months, what is the end goal? And that could be different for different people. And this is where people really struggle with selling their programs, is because they don't want to, effectively niche down, right? So going on a ketogenic diet, it could be for health reasons. It could be because, you've got cholesterol, because you've got high blood sugars. It could be because of a lot of things where going on a ketogenic diet might help those things. And so for that, you may market to people who have high blood sugar. You may market people who have high blood pressure who need to fix their health. You could also market it as a weight loss program for people who simply just want to lose weight. They're overweight, they're pre-diabetic or whatever, and they want to be able to lose weight. And you can market it that way as a weight loss program. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can market it. And really what you want to do is just keep in your mind that you want to start with one. Okay, you can always add others later, but at least start with one. Niche down and find a specific customer avatar, right? Someone who wants to achieve a specific goal that your program can help them to achieve. And yes, that's going to mean that you're going to market specifically towards one goal and one type of person, one type of customer, and you're going to be excluding others. But you will make way more sales that way than if you try to market a generic thing to everybody, right? It's a very popular saying in marketing that if you market it to everybody, you're marketing to nobody, okay? And that's very true. If you try to make your program just generic information to educate people about something that could be used for anything, well, you're not going to make any sales. It doesn't matter how cheap you go with it. But as soon as you start niching down, as soon as you start getting specific with who it's for and what goal it helps them to accomplish, and then you structure your program in that way so it takes them from point A to point B, well, now you've got something where people will actually want to buy and they will be willing to pay a higher price for.
And I think it does need to be said, because there's a lot of people that find us or get into our sphere, and they might be listening to this podcast and they're referral networking based, right? And so right now they're serving everyone, and they're a coach, and they can do that because it's one-on-one. They're taking one-on-one clients, and it's really whoever they can help that they interact with, right? All the referrals and networking coming through. That's just fine if that's your business model. What we're talking about is being able to actually put together marketing to attract people to you. So if you want to serve everybody when you network with folks and you have referrals coming in and you're doing one-on-one coaching, that works. it doesn't translate when you're working to actually market this online, attract leads, generate sales through online means, right? All of your push marketing, the active things that you're doing need to be specific. And so if you want to look at this as kind of two separate branches to your business, if you're just getting into the online space, that's totally fine. You can still take your one-on-one clients that are more diverse and focus your online energies in one direction.
Yeah, and that's a really important thing to keep in mind, because there's probably a lot of people out there that are thinking, yeah, well, I already sell my program and I do referrals and I do networking, and all I need to do is, if I can just get on the phone with somebody, if I can just have a conversation with them, I can sell them, right? It's 90% chance that they're joining, and all I need to do is just have a conversation with them. I don't have a script. I don't have all this fancy marketing. I don't have all these things, and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, sure. It's because, number one, you are borrowing the authority of the person who made the referral. You're getting a recommendation from somebody. So that's like, 90% of the game right there, right? People are already sold before they come to you. You can't do that at scale. You can only scale one-on-one conversations so far. You can only scale referrals so far. If you actually want to be able to run paid ads and scale your business to a significant 6-figure, 7-figure income or more, then you need to get good at marketing. Okay, because right now what's selling your program is the relationship. It's not your marketing, it's your relationship. And relationships need to be built one-on-one like that. Or they need to be built through, just a huge social media following with, either a popular podcast or a popular YouTube channel or a blog or something where you've got a bunch of warm traffic coming in, where your marketing doesn't need to be so good because the relationship is there. Okay. But if you want to scale with cold traffic, if you want to be able to do this a lot faster without having to build a really large organic audience, if you want to be able to run paid ads into a funnel and get paying clients out at the end, then you need to focus on good marketing. And these things that we're talking about are the foundation for that good marketing.
One thing that I really want to dive into, because I have this conversation very, very frequently with people, is about looking at, if they're just getting started with marketing and looking to create an offer to sell through online means, what is an appropriate price point or the right price point for people? So really talking through what makes sense. Whenever someone asks me about pricing, or like what size their program should be, or should they start low ticket, mid ticket, high ticket, all this kind of stuff, I ask some really important questions. I ask, well, what is your current audience size, right? If you've got millions of subscribers on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, that makes a really big difference, right? Because then we could very quickly, you could work to put together something that's lower ticket, simple to put together, simple to sell, and you have massive traffic to sell it, right? And that can work really well. Now, 99.95% of the people that we talk to don't have this flood of traffic sitting there. And that is a really important factor, because whether or not you want to start with paid traffic, you want to be able to get there someday, right? And you want to be able to have an offer that can afford the ebbs and flows of paid traffic. And one of the things that people don't necessarily consider, they look at some of the big gurus out there that have this ascension model, and they've got a $7 to a $47 and then up and up. And they don't realize the immense amount of skill that takes, and the immense amount of money that takes to create that sort of thing. And so they say, well, I'm going to start with a $7. I want to start with a, $47 thing, $97. And their goal is to get to $10,000 a month. And they have no existing audience. They're just starting fresh. That's where you have a come to the Lord kind of moment, right? And have to like really break down the numbers and be like, okay, let's look at what this really takes to open your eyes, because they don't necessarily funnel hack these gurus all the way through to see all of the offers that are happening, because they might start you with a $7, but they're losing money on the $7 offer, right? They're spending ads to get a $7 buyer, but maybe they spent $100 or something to get that, right? The only way they do that is because of the big upsells on the back end, making that happen, making that profitable. And people don't necessarily understand that from the get-go.
Yeah, and that's funnel hacking gone wrong, right? This whole concept of funnel hacking is that, you can look at somebody else's funnel and kind of, not copy what they do, but you can do your own version of what they're doing. You can see the offer, you can see the positioning. You can look at the pricing and all that. And a lot of times, especially when people are first starting out, they don't go past the first page, especially if you got to pay some money to get past that first offer. They never go past it. And so it's easy to assume that if somebody's got a successful business that's bringing 7 figures, 8 figures, that, hey, they're selling a $7 offer, they must be profitable with that $7 offer, right? It's a reasonable assumption to make if you never make it past that first page. And a lot of people make that assumption, and then they commit their entire business to building out that $7 offer or $20 or whatever it is, right?
Right.
They commit their business to building that offer, thinking that it's going to be profitable for them, not realizing that, yeah, you're probably, these big companies, these big gurus are probably spending $50 to $100 to get a $7 customer. They're losing money because they know the lifetime value of their customer. They know that, a certain percentage of those $7 sales are going to go on to become high ticket clients, which is where they really make their money. They're not making the money on the front end.
Yeah. So if we look at let's just give some example of numbers, because I think this is eye-opening for people. So let's take a $10,000 goal. So if someone wants to make $10,000 a month, and maybe they've got, they're planning on doing like a $97 offer. I hear that one quite a bit. So that's like 103 sales per month. Okay. So Todd, what would be a good conversion rate for leads that convert to sales for like a $97 offer?
Well, $97 is really an awkward price. And I know that it's a really awkward price for a first offer. I should say that. Okay. If that's the first step in your funnel, because it's too high of a price to really use in most situations. Okay. I'm not going to say absolutely, but in most situations, that's too high of a price to sell with just a sales page and a VSL. But it's also probably too low of a price to sell with a webinar, right? It's kind of in that middle zone. So typically what we want to do is we'd either want to start lower or we want to start higher.
So if someone is planning to do that $97 offer, challenge them, make it 47 or 27, maybe, if they could.
Yeah, it really depends on what your goal is. So for example, if you've got a high ticket coaching program, which is like your main offer, that's your primary core offer that you want to get people into, then I would say take that $97 offer and just discount it to $27 or somewhere around there. Somewhere between $7 on the very low end, maybe $47 on the very high end. $27 is kind of a good middle ground to start from. Yes, maybe you're delivering a ton of value for that $27, but that's what you want. Okay. The goal is not to make money with that first offer. The goal is to get a buyer lead. Okay. Someone who's willing to invest in their education. And then from there, that's when you know that you can contact that person, whether it's through phone outreach, whether it's through the program, through email, whether it's through a direct message in a support group that you're doing on Facebook for your customers, whatever it is. But you can book calls with those, and they're much more likely to show up and they're much more likely to buy because they've already invested in you. That's the whole idea with that front end, what they often call self-liquidating offer, SLO, or just front end tripwire offer, whatever you want to call it. But that's the goal with that first offer, is just to generate a buyer lead. And you're often taking a loss in order to be able to generate that lead, because it's going to pay off on the back end with a higher ticket purchase. Now, if you actually want to be profitable with that first offer, like for example, you got an online course and that's all you plan on doing. You don't want to do coaching on the back end. You don't want to have to invest your personal time into people to do group coaching or one-on-one coaching or whatever. And all you have is that online course, then I'd say you need to raise the price. Okay. And part of this equation, again, it's the audience. If you've got a huge organic audience that is growing, that's engaged, then sure, charge whatever you want with it. You're going to make some money. But if you have to rely on paid ads in order to generate the traffic that you need in order to make sales, well, what people often don't realize is that it doesn't matter how much the offer on the back end costs. Okay, it doesn't matter how much you're charging for whatever it is you're selling. The cost of your traffic is going to be the same, whether you charge $1 or $10,000 on the back end. So for example, Facebook ads, you're probably going to pay somewhere between, maybe on the very low end, $20 on the higher end, maybe $60, maybe even upwards of $80 to reach 1,000 people with your ad. And it really depends on the niche that you're targeting and those things. But between $20 and maybe $80. If I was to average that out, between $40 and $60 to reach 1,000 people with your ad. But that's the reality of the situation. And that's why we will often take successful ads. For example, if you had a successful ad that was running to a free PDF and it was converting really well, the click rate was good, the opt-in rate was good, we will often take that same ad and we will repurpose it to send people to a registration page for a webinar to sell a course, right? Because we know that the ad is working in it and we know what the click rate and engagement rates are going to be. And that's largely what's going to drive the cost of the ad. But that's what you got to keep in mind, is that the cost of the traffic is going to be the same, okay, no matter what you're charging on the back end. And so that's why, charging more is typically going to be more profitable than charging less. You're not going to get cheaper traffic with a cheaper offer, okay? It just doesn't work that way.
So if we look then just to really lay out the numbers to make it crystal clear how much traffic is really needed to reach your goals, because this is eye-opening for almost everyone we walk through this exercise. So if your goal is $10,000 a month and you've got a $297 course that you want to sell, that means you need 34 sales per month. So let's kind of break down what that looks like in terms of traffic.
Sure. So assuming that we are automating a webinar, not a live webinar, but we're doing an automated webinar in order to sell this $297 or basically $300 offer, right? And we need 34 sales. So as far as automated webinars go, typically what we look at on the back end for a $297 offer is somewhere between maybe at the very low end a 2% overall conversion rate. So out of every 100 leads or 100 registrants that you generate for your automated webinar, you're going to sell at least 2%, right? Two people, two purchases of that $297 offer. On the higher end, it might be 5 or 6%. Okay, if we kind of take a happy medium and let's say 3% on an automated webinar when we're running it at scale. So if we need 100 registrants and I've got my calculator out here. So if we need 100 registrants to make 3 sales and we need 34 sales. So to figure out the math, what we do is we take 34 sales that we need times a 3% conversion rate, or divided by our conversion rate, which is 0.03. Right, that gives us 1,133.33, so 1,134 registrants that we need for your automated webinar. So we need 1,134 leads in order to generate a $10,000 revenue, not income, but revenue on the back end.
Well, and I think even just the amount of leads, I want people to let that sink in. Like, how many leads are you currently generating per week, per month? For a lot of people out there, it's like handfuls. Like it's not a lot of leads, right? And so if your goal is to reach $10,000 a month, think about how many more times over what you're currently doing for lead flow you're going to need to reach in order to be successful to hit that $10,000 a month goal with a $300 course.
And that's why we really like to get people into paid ads, is because that's the easiest, fastest way to generate that traffic. Now, there are other ways to do it. You can do it with podcast guesting, getting in front of other people's audiences. You can do it by creating your own podcast or creating your own YouTube channel or creating your own TikTok account and growing that organically. The thing is, those aren't necessarily fast ways or even reliable ways to get that traffic.
Yeah. I mean, they're great. It's good to choose a long-term strategy like that, but I wouldn't, like, it's not going to turn into anything very quickly. Like, that's like maybe in 6 months, a year, more, this could start to generate some traffic for you, and it's still not going to be at that level. So, and for those who can quote someone who hit the lottery of the algorithm, please remember, hitting the lottery is not a business strategy. Like that, there will be unicorns out there that blow up crazy. Don't plan on that, right? That is a unicorn situation. And so understanding the amount of traffic that it really takes, and then this makes sense on why, like, I have all of this discussion with someone when they're talking about how to price their offer, what size their offer should be up front. If all of that is going to be the same cost, but if we increase the price of this, maybe it's a $9.97 course, or it's maybe you change it into a group coaching program, and you're just getting started. Maybe it's like low, high ticket. So like it's a $2,000, $2,500 program. That, $2,500, you only need four sales in 30 days, right? And so
that's one a week.
Yeah, that math gets way, way easier. So if you're just getting started in the online space and you're trying to sell low ticket to reach your goals, I want you to understand the challenges ahead of you when it comes to traffic, and where if you can get that, you can maybe add lifetime value to the client with like a low ticket membership on the back end, and you can do a whole bunch of stuff with it, but that's all more work and that's all more skill, right? So if your goal is to get to $10,000 a month as quickly as possible, okay, then how do we put together, look at putting together a $2,500 course. So for 4 sales of a $2,500 offer, walk us through the math on that one just to show the difference, Todd.
Yeah, it really depends on on the funnel that you're using, but even just for a beginner that's doing paid ads to a free lead magnet to get people onto their email list and into a Facebook group, then they nurture that, and then they generate sales calls on the back end of that. Okay, that's just one of the easiest ways. That is very low tech. That is kind of high touch, but also very automated. That's one of the best ways for beginners to get started with generating higher ticket clients. With something like that, the numbers that we typically look to hit, and we can often outperform these numbers, but these are like what we call our KPIs, our minimum expectation to hit these numbers. If we're below these numbers, then we know that there's something that needs to be fixed. But out of every 100 leads that you generate with that free PDF offer on the front end, on the back end of that, once they've kind of gone through your funnel, we expect that we could book at least 5 to 8 qualified sales calls from those leads. Out of those 5 to 8 qualified sales calls, we expect at least 4 to 6 to show up live. There's always a cancellation or a reschedule or a no-show somewhere. Out of those 4 to 5 that show up live to your sales call, we expect that we could close at least 25% of those. That at the end of the day, that means out of every 100 leads, we should be able to land 1 to 2 paying high-ticket clients.
So if that's 100 leads for 1 to 2 sales, then we're talking 400 leads?
Yeah,
max?
400 leads.
Yeah. So just the amount of traffic needed to generate 400 leads versus the amount of traffic needed to generate over 1,300 leads. Vast difference. So for a lot of people, if they have the value, if they can truly help people and put together a really amazing program, having something, getting started in that low, high, and I say high ticket, it's not really high ticket, but it requires a sales call to close. But moving into that space for folks where it's a larger chunk, it's going to allow you to reach your goals a lot faster when appropriate. So I think it's really important for people to understand the expectations and the reality of low ticket versus high ticket when they're looking at how to price their offers.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they hear those numbers, when they come in with the expectation that, I'm going to create a low ticket offer and I'm just going to post about it, or I'm going to get the traffic, right? Either I'll make a few sales and the word will get out and then everybody will set their buy. That thing that just doesn't happen. And if you try to do it with paid ads, it really just isn't that profitable. And it's really difficult to be profitable. Not only that, but selling a low ticket offer kind of on automation on the front end with an automated webinar or with a sales page and a VSL or something like that. The level of marketing skill it takes to be able to do that is incredibly high, right? Like there are 7 and 8 figure businesses that they work for 6 to 12 months or more to dial in as much as they can that front end offer like that, and they still take a loss, right? They still pay 5 times more than the cost of that sale in order to make that sale. If they're charging $10, they may pay up to $50 or $100 to make that $10 sale, and they work for 6 to 12 months to be able to do that. And so a lot of people, when they hear that, it's like you would just pop their balloon, right? It's like they feel like giving up on their business. Here's what I would say is that it's much, much easier to just add some value and some structure to your offer, create a high ticket, high touch program out of that and sell it for, $2,000 on the lower end, $5,000, $10,000 on the higher end. And in order to sell an offer like that, it requires a lot less marketing skill and just more relationship building.
Right.
And you can still automate a good portion of that so that you're not wasting your time with tire kickers. You're not wasting your time with people who just don't have the money, right? You can automate a good portion of that so that you're still focusing your time on people who are actually really serious about buying and joining. And it's so much easier to be profitable, so much easier to be successful with that when you work with clients one-on-one, or when you work with clients in a group setting. The other thing that does is it allows you to get much better testimonials a lot faster, because the level of support that you're giving them means that they're typically getting a result much better and quicker than if they had just gone through a do-it-yourself course where they get their login information, they log in once, and then they never open again. So especially when you're first starting out, I would say going that higher ticket route is really just the best and easiest and fastest way to get started, to be profitable, to give your business the success that it needs, so that later on in the long run, you can do those lower ticket offers and you have a much higher chance of being profitable with it.
Yeah. And for those who are looking for an avenue, they know 100% they can't or won't, or whatever reason won't do sales calls, they want to keep it low ticket, then simply look for other ways to increase the lifetime value of a customer, right? So consider doing a back-end membership. So maybe you drive traffic into an automated webinar to sell a course, but now when they buy the course, they get their first 3 months of your $100 a month membership for free, and then it rolls into whatever, or first month or something like that, where now instead of having a $300 customer, now they might end up a $1,000 customer. And so you're just looking for other ways to do it. So yes, you'd have to create another offer and you have to manage a membership, but there's pros and cons of everything. But if you prefer to stay out of the high ticket space, then I would encourage you to investigate how you could do something sort of on the back end that would increase the lifetime value still.
Yeah. And I would say that was one of our biggest mistakes with our first with our first
Just
quarter.
thinking about it, I was like, oh, I remember when we did that really stupid thing.
Yeah. Our first course that we sold it for $300, and that was it. That was all we had, because we didn't know, right? We didn't know what we didn't know. And that's just what we saw other people in our same space doing, was they were selling a $300 offer. We didn't even think about, whenever we got upsold, whenever we got, a phone call to get into higher ticket coaching, it never occurred to us that we should be doing those things as well. We just thought that we can do a $300 offer and be profitable, and that's all you would ever need in your business. And the thing is, like, we had success with it. It sold really well. I think our conversion rate, even on an automated webinar, was between 4 and 6% of all registrants for our automated webinar. But when we look back and that was our first 7-figure year, by the way, was selling that $300 course. And we had nothing else after that to sell to our customers. But when we look back at that, it's like, okay, the conversion rate was high enough that we should have raised the price, number one, right? Because one of our biggest pain points that year was we were bringing in so many sales that customer service was an absolute nightmare. Also, managing an email list that was growing so fast by thousands of people every single day, growing an email list like that and trying to manage it and keep it clean and stay out of trouble with spam bots and things like that was very difficult. And that caused another problem. And like I said, the customer service, I can't find my logins. I didn't get the email. I want to all these things that just came in day after day after day, and you just get sick of dealing with them. When you sell a low ticket course like that at scale to bring in, and for us, it was $80,000, $100,000, $200,000 a month selling that course like that. It creates a lot of other problems in your business where you start to, look at, okay, well, I wish I had done high ticket now. I wish instead of dealing with thousands of customers, I wish I was only dealing with a handful, right? Making the same amount of money. So when we had looked at the numbers for that first course that we had sold, and we saw the conversion rate was high, our leads were super cheap because our, the ad that we had going was performing really well. First thing we should have done is raise our price, right? That's the first thing we should have done on the back end in order to ease some of those issues on the other side of having to deal with customer service and things like that. So bringing in fewer customers at a higher price is definitely would have been worth it for us. But the other thing is having other things to sell on the back end in order to increase the value of those customers. So a monthly membership where, we could be just doing a group coaching on the back end, even for $50 or $100 a month, selling other courses. So think about the problem that you solve with that first course, and then what other problems does that open up, or what's the next problem that they need solved after they solve that one. So for us, that first course was all about generating leads for your business. So after you generate leads for your business, well, what's the next problem that needs to be solved? Well, that would be turning those leads into customers, or that might be nurturing those leads. That might be how to do a webinar to sell your own stuff to those leads. It might be how to do sales calls to pull them into a higher ticket coaching program, right? What's the next problem that they need solved? And then sell that to your customers. And the thing is, since you already sold to them once and they're already on your email list, you don't need to pay for ads to reach them again. And that's the other key. This is why it's so much more profitable to sell more stuff to your existing customers rather than try to go out and find new customers to bring in with paid ads. These people are already on your email list. They're already, in your courses. They're already exposed to you. You don't need to pay for ads to reach them again to sell them more stuff. And so it's just a matter of putting that next offer together and emailing your list about it in order to generate more income. And that's really the key to scaling.
Well, I hope we opened some eyes, gave you some maybe some hard to swallow truth, but also some hope on how to actually make this work and be very, very massively successful and profitable with your business. Thanks for being with us today. You've been listening to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. For show notes and information about today's guest, head to digitaltrailblazer.com. Now, if you love this episode, if you got some value, make sure you leave us a review and subscribe. And be sure to share this episode with anyone you know who could use help to build their business. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.